We're going to start from here, but welcome everyone. Technical issues and everything.
Yeah.
Okay, well, my name is Birdie. If this is your first time stopping by, my name is Birdie Morales with Signature Real Estate Group, and I am joined today by Shawn, Mr. Rogers. We are going over our beautiful faces right there. For those of you that are interested in leaving California and looking for another state to call home. Shawn, how are you doing today?
I honestly can't complain, Birdie, and thank you for having me. Just what a pleasure and an honor to be on your show.
Thank you for being here. Now, for everyone that is joining us, Mr. Shawn Rogers, you are a team lead in the Phoenix metro area, correct? Can you tell us a little? Well, I'm going to add this here.
Okay.
You are the team lead for the Mr. Rogers homes in the Phoenix metro area. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Phoenix metro area?
Sure, Phoenix metro area. And when most people, Birdie, kind of visualize Phoenix, if they're not from here, we start off by saying Phoenix, and it's divided in different
Yeah,
state territories or counties: East Valley, the West Valley, North, South. But for the most part, when they look at the map and see Phoenix, we the Mr. Rogers Homes team, and I want to give a quick shout out to everybody on the team. It's all about teamwork. We can cover most any area, and in fact, if it was further out, we can do that as well. But Phoenix is what we start off with the hub, because most people would understand or recognize that verbiage prior to moving smaller and moving in different directions to smaller locations.
exactly. Yeah. And I just want to thank you so much. For those of you that don't know, I am from Riverside County here in Southern California. Shawn, have you ever been to California by any chance?
Once or
Or are you
twice.
familiar? Yeah.
Yes.
So we are Riverside County. We are surrounded by three beautiful counties, that is San Diego, Orange County, and Los Angeles. So I want to tell you a little bit more about why I started this series. I started this series because back during the quarantine, actually, let me see your face, Lou. There you are.
There I am.
So during the quarantine, what we saw was a lot of people going remote, right? And so we started seeing a lot of people from LA, San Diego, and Orange County starting to move out here because it's more affordable. You get more bang for your buck out here. So we ended up
Right.
getting priced out. They would sell their tiny two-bedroom condo for, 900, 1.2 at the time at the height of the market. And then they would move down here to old Riverside County, and what would happen is a lot of people that grew up here would get priced out of the market, unfortunately. People wouldn't mind paying 80, 90, 100 over asking in order to get more bang for their buck out here.
Right. Makes sense.
So, yeah, so great for them. But for those of us that already, were raised here, like myself, we were getting priced out of the market.
Right.
So,
Out of your own
what
home, as it were.
yeah, unfortunately. So what we were seeing is a lot of people starting to move east, whether it be because of politics or pricing, people started to move out east. So what I wanted to do is connect people, with great agents in the area, and just want to show your YouTube page again.
Thank you so very much.
Yeah. So I like I love the power of video. I'm sure video is a great way to connect to people. And I want people that are moving out of the state, it's one of the biggest moves of their lives. I want them to feel comfortable during the move and connect them with great agents.
Birdie,
So,
and that's I was going to say, that's one of the biggest connecting factors that agents can help each other across whether it's border or counties or the world. Having professionals help everybody out in the field that they're popular. I mean, that's popular or very professional setting. That to me is huge. So California
yeah.
inside and out. I know Arizona, and if people are moving there, you said it best. That they might be, whether it's scared at any level, they're leaving their
Yeah.
home for not so much the great out west as it was maybe 100 or 200 years ago, but it's definitely uncharted territory, and they want somebody to guide them properly and feel safe. And that word covers a lot of a big umbrella.
Right. Exactly. And I was looking at the numbers, right? Because as any great agent does. And California as a whole, we lost as I want to show you the website. What is it? How Money Walks, Where Money Walks. I always get the name wrong. The state of California, we lost our population. The top 5 states are Nevada, Arizona, Texas, Oregon, and Washington, right? And we
Mhm.
are right here, that little you see in the bottom, that green county, that's us.
Yep, there it is.
There it is. And I want to show you a little bit of a closer look. We lost, if you look at the left side, we lost our population. Three of those counties are in Arizona.
Yeah, and I guess I use the term loosely. It makes sense if people were, again, going back on your data, if they were, and Birdie, backing up a little bit, some of them may have saw an opportunity if they were born hypothetically and raised in your county or your city, your town, and they see the market exploding, others moving, to more bang for the buck. They may have migrated to Arizona to say, hey, if I get out now, and I can
Yeah.
buy quite the property in Arizona, more bang for their buck, leaving Arizona. I'm sorry, California.
Yeah, and I just think it is so funny because Arizona and California are so comparable in regards to price and weather. So, can you tell me a little bit more about the Phoenix metro area as far as housing? What is it like? Is it, giant lots? Is it Spanish style? What do you see exactly out there as far as the home styles?
What a great question. And there's such a vast variety, and I can give a
Yeah,
blanket,
just like
broad stroke
yeah.
answer to that. You can pretty much get anything you want. I mean, some people want, I think one of the biggest things most everybody wants that'll check mark all the
Mhm.
boxes, low or no maintenance. So you're probably going to have that wherever. And then it just comes down
Yeah,
to, do you want a condo townhouse where the amenities, you might pay a little bit more in HOA, but you'll get your tennis courts, your basketball courts gated, outside maintenance is taken care of, the pools are clean and ready for you to use. And then there's people that would want the single family home with perhaps room to run for their dogs, their children, and or both,
right.
and more privacy. So you can get pretty much no lot, backyard, private space, all the way up to, there's properties here for sale that have acres on them. You could raise
Right.
horses up against the mountains if you want to. So it's a big broad stroke of variety of choices of living styles here in Arizona. But the biggest thing is probably always nice weather once you get used to the summer heat, and low maintenance for ease of living.
Right. So it's really comparable to my neck of the woods here in the Temecula Valley. So my city, where Wildemar, we have the, more rural areas where you can have your horses, your chickens, anything. And then you have areas like the city of Temecula where it's more, Temecula and Murrieta, where they're more family oriented. They're, top rated schools. They're great communities. And it just depends on what you're looking for. So I feel like their Arizona, your neck of the woods and mine is very comparable. Um,
Right. And
yeah.
that's some of the questions that I'm sure you do, and we ask when people are relocating from anywhere across the country into Arizona. Schools are important. It comes down to even the finite details, single story versus two story. But you will find them that some prefer HOAs where they can, make sure
Yeah,
everybody looks the same, and some prefer no HOAs where they can pretty much do within reason what they want on their property. But if you don't ask those questions, it doesn't much matter where they're living or where they're going to. As you know, it's all about customer service.
it is. It is. And as you were telling me, if I believe it was yesterday, your area is known for their school system. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Sure, Gilbert and Chandler have ironically 6 zip codes each, so a total of
Oh,
12
wow.
zip codes. So that's 12 zip codes, 12 choices, six in
Yeah.
Gilbert and six in Chandler. And both of them traditionally rival each other for top schools,
Oh, wow.
education wise. And I always use the little disclaimer that you want to do your research on what advantage or disadvantage each school has. But again, most people that are, I'll say it, family oriented or thinking about creating a family traditionally will have school systems as one of their top priorities of purchasing a property.
Exactly. And I feel like my area, that's what people are looking for. They're getting out of the city, they're moving to the family-oriented community. So if they're thinking of moving the state, maybe that's one place they want to start. Can you tell me more about, let's say you're a young bachelor, where would they move to in your area?
That's a great question. And ironically, a true story. I don't know that I was, quote, young, but when I moved
Right.
out here, I was a bachelor. And thank the good Lord, I, fell in love with my beautiful wife and everything's happy. But there are different locations. And traditionally, you hear Scottsdale. has, and again, I love, there's love-hate relationships with everything, but Scottsdale, again, no disrespect, I think it's a beautiful place, but its nickname sometimes is known as Snotsdale or Snobsdale because of the shopping and the higher end restaurants and a lot of pampering of oneself. But the flip side of that, to answer your great question, Birdie, is it's also known for the single life. So most
Right.
people there would probably find, again, Scottsdale has everything from one bedroom condos to absolutely spectacular mansions. But a lot of people, single per se, young and single, would find themselves attracted to the move quick, low maintenance, like a smaller condo above or close to light rail systems, their work, their job, their entertainment, etc. And that's a big draw to the Scottsdale community. And then when you move further out, there's more of I don't want to say it's dead or no nightlife, but then it's kind of hit and miss what communities you pick for what lifestyle you'd want to attract a fitting mate.
A fitting mate. I love that. Okay. I'm going to jump on over to the next topic, which is, of course, when we're here leaving California, I want to talk a little bit more about the numbers. Riverside County, I didn't look up today's numbers, but I know last I checked, our average days on the market was around 30 to 50, depending on what area you're at. And average sales price is 100. Median is around the same thing. What is it like in your neck of the woods? More or
Sure.
less on
Average
average.
days, no problem. And average days on market, we just, as of last month, 75 days. Ironically, I'm just because
Oh,
I'm a
wow.
numbers guy, the month prior was 67 days. So we're up about a week plus or minus. The mean average price last month and the month prior hovered 528 to 520, somewhere in there, for a month prior. So I think last month it was 75 days on market and 528,000 was the list price.
Yeah, so we're about this we're not too far off, and like I
Right.
said, it depends on the area. You have areas like, I was mentioned earlier, the Marietta, Temecula area in my neck of the woods. Those are still selling like hotcakes where, you get further out in other areas where it's taking a minute, sales prices are slowly declining, so it just depends on the area.
Well, Birdie, in here, and I don't know the case there, and I'm sure you'll go over it, but tying into that is also inventory. So our inventory spiked from almost nothing on the shelves, it's like 2 weeks of inventory, which is jokingly shelves were bare, and it
Right.
skyrocketed to almost 20,000 houses. We're selling them rather rapidly again, which is good, to about 15,000 homes. But my point to that story is the more dialed in a buyer's the more dialed in that their game plan is for their property, I would say that it would take them longer. But overall, there's a lot of inventory and choices. But once again, they dial in what they're looking for, then it may take longer because they have an exact property that they want.
Exactly. And so let's talk about the actual process of getting out. So here in California, if someone wants to move, if they have a house to sell, generally you sell your house and you purchase the next one, contingent on the sale of that home. Here in the state of California, you have the 17-day contingency period, home inspection, home loan, and appraisal. 17 days across the board. And of course, anything is negotiable, but that's typically what we see. So they sell their home, they're under contract. What does it look like on the buying side?
Here, traditionally, and our
Traditional,
contracts
yeah.
are a little bit different than yours, but not that far different. If a buyer here was looking for a property and they found one, when we would submit for them, let's assume I'm representing the buyer. If they had a home to sell, they could or do not have to include the contingency of the property, assuming they would, because they don't want
Yeah,
to take the chance of hypothetically having two mortgages. Then we're allowed to kind of set terms and parameters of that time of, I'll say, contingency. And I don't know how it is there, and I don't want to segue, but this is important for our viewers to hear.
yeah.
It happens a lot with new builds. So if you wanted to sell
Yes.
a house in California and build one here, and the build time's 9 months, traditionally a new builder is not going to give you 9 months to sell a house. So we write the contingency to give our buyers as much time as possible to sell a property.
Exactly, and those
And
new builds.
then if it comes in to be, for lack of a better term, the contingency needs to be adjusted. If the new builder gives you 30 days and your house isn't sold, perhaps you have to waive the contingency and come to realization that you might have two mortgages. You can walk away, or best case, if you're a decent negotiator, you can perhaps ask for more time. And that holds true new build or not new build. That contingency form is negotiable during the course of negotiations of that contract.
Yeah, and I love that you brought up new builds because I feel like they're coming back after they had those, price drops. I've had so many people ask about the new builds, and one thing I always point out is the timing. I had one that was supposed to close in December. We're closing next month.
Right, pushed
So
way
it's
out.
yeah, because of the rain, we know we didn't account for this wet season. Like I was telling you, this winter has been like the storm of the decade. We just keep getting pounded. So things like that you need to account for.
And to
One,
tie into
yeah,
that, and that's a great point to tie into that. Weather is one thing perhaps that affected your new build market. What affected us and probably you as well was just flat out lack of supplies and
yeah,
or labor to actually do the work. So some of those, and you'll notice that most any new builder is going to give you a range of closing dates. They're not going to say 6 months, 3 weeks, 2 days, and 1 hour. They usually give you 12 months to 16 months, which actually means 2 years. And I joke when I say it, but you have to have your seller in or your buyer, if they have a contingency and they're buying and selling, you have to set them up for worst case on both sides.
exactly. And like you said, you need to come to terms with the fact that you might be carrying two loans. There's bridge loans where you can get that bridge loan to help you purchase the house and then sell your old one later. But that's lender talk. That's when I bring in my lender to look over your numbers.
Yep.
But there's a lot of
Yeah. Well,
options.
I always joke and say we stay in our lanes. We do real estate and let our great lenders do what they do. But and you bring up another great point. It's all about understanding your skill set, because when you know how to negotiate properly, it's not game over for a lot of contracts if you know how to work together. If you're representing the buyer, work with
Right.
the seller, because they may in fact be doing the same thing on another property. So not
Right.
everything works exactly as you want to draw it out on paper. Very rarely do you close on one house and close on the other in the same weekend. It usually doesn't happen that way.
Exactly. And like that's why I tell people, if you're even considering leaving the state of California, talk to someone, weigh your options ahead of time. Even if you're a year out, I'm like, you're on the clock. Let's go. Start
Well,
talking to people. Yeah.
and Bertie, that's some great advice, and that's why you are as great as you are in the field of real estate. And our team, and I don't plug it for rah reasons. I just say that when you understand a client's needs in a realm that they may not or usually aren't aware of or dialed into, then
Right.
that's when they rely on you heavily. So you want to make sure that they're not going to be homeless for a long period of time.
Yes. And you are a team lead. So tell me a little bit more, just very briefly, about that team that you have, because you have a lot of buyers and sellers alike in your area.
Great question, and thank you for again. I
Yeah.
always say thanks for the team. I say honestly, without them, I'm reduced to a lowest common denominator. So I thank them from the bottom of my heart, friends and family, and I want to get all the plugs in there. But how we very
Yeah.
simply, to make it quick, because I will make this brief, we break it down by location and
Right.
services. So most everybody on the team, in fact, everybody is a full-time real estate agent with West
Right.
USA. So they can do buying and selling in pretty much anywhere in the counties or cities or towns here in the
Right.
Valley of the Sun. But in order to best serve a client, if it's a buyer in the East Valley, we will make sure they're connected with a buyer specialist in the East Valley. And then we usually go one step further. Are you relocating? Are you a first time buyer? Are you an investor? So then you not only get the right agent in the right area, but covering the right specifics for that
Right.
buyer. And same thing with seller. If they're selling, we want to have somebody that's knowledgeable in their area so they can talk at a very professional but yet personal level about the property that they're trying to sell. The more they know about their product, the easier it is for people to relate to what they're trying to sell.
Exactly. And that's like you hit the nail on the head right there. It's all about connecting them with good people, people that are experienced and professional. So,
Exactly.
let me see where we're at next. Leaving California. Cost of or Yeah, let's talk about cost of living really quickly. It's always a fun topic here in California. It costs an arm, a leg, and your first child to live here.
Right. Right. I'm not laughing, so much at you, but more with you. That's because I do a lot of relocations. That's usually one of the well, again, without diving into it, it's a couple of key subjects, and that's definitely or topics. That's definitely
Right.
atop the list.
Yeah, I mean, here when I started this series, I think it was last summer, spring summer, I think is when I started. Gas.
Hmm.
I want to talk about gas really quick. I
Right.
think we were
Right.
at like $7 at the time. Summer gas is ridiculous. Right now we're
Wow.
back around 450, which is still horrible. But it's not as bad.
Right.
What is it like for you guys over there right now?
And gas fluctuates. I'm going to put it right
Yeah,
around
on average.
350, $4. But one of the things I'll tell you that, and I was going to ask you this, although you're the interviewer and darn good at what
Yeah,
you
yeah.
do.
Ask me anything.
Well, many times when I'm hearing people relocate, they're like, well, sure, $7 is definitely higher than $4. But from my understanding, and that's what I was going to ask you, it's the distance they have to drive in California, whether, so wait, I don't want to use the wrong terms, wasting more gas and more
Yeah,
time. Whereas here, gas ironically is cheaper. And most, like we talked earlier, Phoenix, most people, if they don't live in Phoenix, they're really not more than probably, if I had to take long range, 40 minutes away. Usually it's 10 to 15
right.
away from work. So that must weigh into the cost factors or the perks of moving somewhere where gas is cheaper and you'll spend less time and money, but I don't know because I don't know if that factors in with a overall thought process of leaving California.
Yeah, and I mean, here in Riverside County, it's always interesting because while we're a commuter town, like I said, everyone's coming from the bigger city. They're keeping their jobs out there. They're living
Right.
here and commuting out there. So I mean, it's bad. So it just
When
depends
you
at the end of the
say
day, distance, traffic, all that fun stuff.
right, so out of curiosity, when you say they're keeping their jobs there and moving to where you are, what could be that distance then?
It could be around. I use time. I never use mile. It's
Okay,
about
yeah,
an
that's
hour
kind
and
of
a
my,
half.
I guess what else.
Yeah.
Right, right,
I'm a California person. It could be, if you're looking at mileage, I'd say about 60 miles, 60 to 80 miles one way.
right. That's to me,
Yeah.
again, just to me personally, that's where I would say move out to Arizona. I joke when I say it, but all joking aside, that to me sounds insane. And on another subject, if I'm allowed to do it,
Yeah.
regardless of what the distance is, during the pandemic, a lot of people found themselves, whether it was a 10-minute drive to work or in your case, 60 to 80 miles, a lot of people started to work from home, which again reduced a lot of their expenses, gas, or maybe even just makeup, and hair gel getting ready for work. But what also happened, and I don't know if it happened to you, is then they needed more room. Like they wanted a room for a gym because they weren't going to go to the
Right.
gym. They didn't, now they need a real, to say it politely, a real office so they can close
Right.
the door and get things done. So a lot of people were upsizing traditionally to add space, but ultimately they were saving money from the commute, as we were talking about,
Right.
and the for lack of a better word, the time they were wasting getting ready and going to their place of employment.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened. So that's what happened here in Riverside County. Yep. Um, I want to go back to, let's talk about car registration. I always bring this up because it's always interesting to me. Like I said, my area, we have a lot of trucks. We are more rural. Average registration on a truck, I think it's been 300 to 400. My regular SUV has been around 200 every year. Do you know more or less what car registration is like out there?
And great question and putting me on the spot. I'm honest enough to tell you, I don't know. My boss wife usually does that for me, but I
That's
can
about
tell
right.
you that
Yeah.
but I can tell you one thing that's good or bad because I don't know to compare it to California. One thing
Yeah.
that I love that's different is traditionally, when it comes up, they send you an email or a letter in the mail. We went
Yeah.
paperless, and then they say you have to go for emissions test. But Birdie, I kid you not, I don't know if it's such a beautiful system. You make sure it's open, I guess, just to make sure you drive in
Right.
within probably 20 minutes to 40 minutes. They go in, they put the hose on the muffler, they connect something to the dash, and $25 later, you hopefully pass, and then they mail you your little registration sticker where then you could see what you want to pay. I think it's 1 year or 2 years, and 2 years would be cheaper. volume or
Right.
double years, and then they marry the sticker and off you go. So it's relatively painless. I'm not quite sure, to be very honest with you, of the pricing of registration for new
Yeah.
all-terrain vehicles, because we kind of have we just
Yeah.
repeat altering ours every 2 years.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, out here we do a small test every other year, and it just the pricing on that, it's kind of all over the place depending on who you go to and
Okay.
coupons and all that fun stuff. Let's talk about the fun stuff. Property taxes. I know out here it depends on the area. If it's a newer area, you have that HOA plus, Melrose assessment, all that fun stuff. What is it like more or less in your area? Does it also depend on the community?
It does. Well, the taxes here, and again,
Right.
originally being from the East Coast, a majority, a huge part of your mortgage or payment, I'll word it that
Right.
way, would be taxes. I think a lot of people leave New York to come out here for that reason. So, property taxes, in my humble opinion, from the East Coast are almost nothing. And I say that because that's a huge, when your mortgage is X amount, let's say $800, and you're throwing $400 or $500 more a month for taxes, that hurts somebody buying a
Yeah.
house. Here, if you had a $900 mortgage and your property taxes are 100 a month, that gives you more buying power. So property taxes here are very reasonable, if not some of the lowest in the country. Some of the things that could sway that price, Birdie, would be HOAs. If there's an HOA,
Right.
they can go anywhere from, I'll say, around 170 to $100. That would include common trails, exterior maintenance of the property, the parks and playgrounds, all the way up to, circling back to moving to Scottsdale. Some of the HOAs could be, six, seven, 800, $1,000. However, they include valet parking, golf parking, movie theaters, a
Right.
gym membership. So it depends on what lifestyle you want to live, because ultimately a lot of those costs you're going to incur separately if in fact you a la carte your lifestyle.
Yep, super comparable to out here. Well, as far as the HOAs.
Right.
Yeah, it always depends on the area. I think that is just about everything for cost of living. I'm going to talk about my favorite part, which is the weather. I always tell people when I started the series, I will bring this up because I had an old coworker. She moved to Texas, right? She didn't know anything about the time, the area. She moved in the right before the stormy season. So when she arrived with her baby, they had no power, they had nothing, no utilities at all for like a week. So what is it like in Arizona? I know it's comparable. Is there a rainy season? Is there a wet season at all, or is it like us out here?
Well, and I'll say this, when it comes to relocating from California to Arizona, I always try to play, the middle, and find the beauty in everything. But one thing I will say, I absolutely love the weather here in Arizona. You usually have, depending where you are, but I'm talking specifically the areas we cover in the Valley of the Sun, you probably have 300 to 310 days of sunshine every day. A cute side story about relocating here is, if it and when it rains or it gets a little cold, it's actually enjoyable. You kind of look
Right,
forward to a hazy day. A perk of the weather being nice all the time is you can plan most any event and know it's not
right,
going to get canceled or interrupted by, be it rain or snow or sleet, cold, etc.
right,
But on the flip side of that, because I always want to be fair to everybody, Birdie, and that's, why we stay in business, being honest and give the information that people need. You will need to get acclimated to the Arizona summers. I
how
say that laughingly, and I'll just kind of touch this point. Depending on what you do per se, I'm not, and God bless every profession, but I'm not a roofer mid-July. So, many times when my friends and family ask me what's the temperature, be it, mid-March or mid-August, sometimes I have to, ask, Alexa, or look out the window.
right.
But my point is, you learn to do during the summer here when it's hot, you learn to do things, and maybe the same in California, but you learn to perhaps hike in the morning
Yeah.
or at
Oh, yeah.
night when you're not mid heat. But then you have the other 7 to 8 months where the weather, morning to dusk, is just beautiful.
Yeah, and I mean, like you mentioned, you're from New York. What was that transition like going from, like, cold winters to Arizona? What was the transition like?
If I had to say it, because I've not visited there, but I'll use it for an example. It seems like what heaven would be like.
Uh,
I have nothing against New York. I'm a proud, New Yorker, upstate New York. In fact, Buffalo. So go Bills. I'll put that in there. But my point is, and a side note to that is, there is snow here in Arizona. You can drive up to, Flagstaff. In fact, feel free. There's a place called Snowball where it snows 6, 7, 8 months out of the year, and you could be, skiing or snowboarding or building a snowman right now, as a matter of fact. But to answer your question, because I'm ironically from a place that gets a lot of snow, if I never see snow again in my life, I'm okay with that. And I don't mean that negatively. I've had my years and I've enjoyed what I've enjoyed, but I love knowing it's flip flops or flip flops and just what color shorts I'm wearing, and if I have to all dressed up, well, that's a different story.
Yeah, just like here. And like I said, we're usually dry here in the Temecula Valley. We can get pretty hot in the summer, triple digits. I love the summer. I love the heat. I can do it all year.
Yeah.
And this winter has just been killer. I'm telling you. It's like I saw rain on the forecast again this week, and I'm like, I'm already dreading it.
Well,
Just yeah.
one thing I was going to tell you too, and kind of again another little story is what you do get used to the weather out here for the most part. When I first moved out here, a lot of homes that have pools, they don't heat their pools. So when I came out here, I think it was winter. I found the temperature of the pool somewhere between 65 and 75 to be absolutely perfect for me. Where people that lived here thought I was crazy jumping in the polar bear like water. Now, fast forward, I probably won't go
Right.
into a pool unless the temperature's
If I got
90
some
or
texture,
above,
yeah.
which is good for me.
Yeah, that is hilarious. Okay, so if you had to well, it's like you said, it's sunny most of the time. Is there a bad season to move to Arizona? If somebody's packing their lifelong belongings in a truck, is there a bad time of year, or do you think it's good to move to Arizona every day of the year?
As far as weather is concerned,
Weather, yeah,
absolutely there's not a bad time. I mean, there really, really isn't. I mean, if you had to say in the perfect world
in the
when
perfect.
not to move here, I guess it would be in the summer. But on the flip side, how long are you truly going to unpack? If you had to unpack in the morning or night, you would avoid that. And again, as hot as it gets, and I know everyone jokes and you mentioned it as well, it's a dry heat. It absolutely is a heat. It's absolutely hot. However, it's not walking on the surface of the sun.
Right, right. And like you said, you got to acclimate to the area.
You do.
So, do you have we're gonna start wrapping it up slowly. Do you have any tips for anyone relocating to Arizona other than acclimate to the area?
Absolutely. I would first start off by, finding something similar to what they would most call home, whether
Yeah,
it's the size of the home, bedrooms and bathrooms, single story square footage, as far as the unit itself or the property itself. And then the other tip I would give them relocating is find the areas. Again, we talked a little bit about, Scottsdale and Gilbert and Chandler, but there's so much. There's the West Valley, there's Central Phoenix. Some people want to be closer to public, transportation. Some
right.
people want to be closer to a school or their favorite restaurants or eateries. So I always say, let's do the homework, whether it's us doing virtual tours or being that California is so close to us, come on in for a weekend. Proper planning would be my answer. If you fail to plan, your plan will fail. So you definitely want to make sure that you have as many bases covered. So when you come here, you systematically eliminate properties and areas that just aren't going to do it. And it
Right.
automatically, and you're in the business, Birdie, you know that once they see that house in that area, it just their eyes, they know it instantly.
Yeah. You can tell it's all yeah, the moment they walk in, they know. It's with every buyer.
Right.
Um,
And then
I
it's
do
kind
want to
of our job to
show
walk them through the rest of it. Sorry.
technical issues.
Yeah,
Can
it
you hear me?
happens. Yep, I can.
It does happen. There we go. And my tips for anyone leaving California, you said it. Plan ahead. If you can take a vacation out there, check out the weather. If anyone watching from home watched my Colorado series, I believe Iris had mentioned that She had a buyer move out there to Colorado. She spent almost a year there, and she would get horribly sick from the altitude. Would she have spent some time there beforehand, she wouldn't have had to leave Colorado, within that year. So always try to spend time at your new home, see how you handle the weather, anything anything in the area, spend time, travel, and look around in the communities. That is
And
my
Birdie, one other thing I'd add to that is, when you come out anywhere, if you're moving again from California to Arizona, just live your life here, well, experimenting or on vacation or home shopping as you would there. You definitely want to try,
there you
do
go.
things that you would do. Go on, enjoy a playground here and see how that works out, or your pizzeria. Drive by the schools and see what they
Right?
look
Don't
like.
move anywhere with horrible food. I've done that and I moved out.
Oh, well, as you talked about a Colorado
Yeah,
climate, the climate might be one thing, or the altitude, and a lot of people enjoy eating, so they definitely want to be happy when they're going out to dinner. And
exactly, exactly. And I mean, as far as video tours are possible. If you can check out the area while you're there, look at the houses, zero in on the communities. If not, video tours are always a plus. Just pay attention during those final walkthrough videos. Make sure your house is in tip-top shape and ready for you.
yeah, and again, in the profession, if someone is relocating, we respect their time, and as time is money. But before they actually narrowed into that house, we enjoy doing video tours. Checking how big the closet is for Mrs. Smith or Mr. Smith, or if the truck will fit in the garage. We can measure things. Videos, the age of technology, when it goes flawlessly and seamlessly, is just a wonderful thing to speed the process along.
I think I'm losing you. Can you hear me?
I can.
There you are. Okay, cool. Yeah, but yeah, those final walkthrough videos, I mean, and that's what we're here for, to be connected to really good people.
Well, that's what
So
we try to do. Get the word out so people understand that we're professionals, and we'll definitely take care of them. That's how we stay in business.
exactly. And for everyone watching at home, again, head over to the Mr. Rogers Home Team video or YouTube. Check out what they have, check out the communities, get familiar with Mr. Rogers. And I do want to show, I showed you the video. I think I forgot to show everyone at home. Where is this at? Can you tell me a little bit more about this area?
Yeah, that's what it looks like, and I'm getting older, Birdie, so it looks like it's the Camelback area of Phoenix. So a very nice neck of the woods. In fact, a very popular hiking destination. So it's kind of funny when people think about hiking. Sometimes they think they have to drive miles to the closest quote mountain. Camelback happens to be one that's a very short distance. If I probably walk to it from some people's backyards. And I was going to say one more thing, if I'm allowed, with our YouTube channel, because we do so many relocations, and the Mr. Rogers Homes channel, we have hiking Arizona, golfing Arizona, local events, the top lakes to visit, and of course, everything real estate. So we try to cover all bases. We're not so much one niche channel that it's just going to show you
Yeah,
houses. We'd like to cover everything, because a lot of people moving here have no idea, that we have more than 10 lakes, and I struggled to get the list down
right,
to the top 10 lakes.
right. And I think I have video downtown. I just wanted to show it. It is just
Downtown, yep,
gorgeous.
downtown Phoenix.
It is just gorgeous.
It honestly is so neat and clean, and I'm not just saying that to say it. And it's everything has its pluses and minuses, so I'm not going to paint a utopia like picture. But I've always had a very good time at the events I've gone with, and good things and bad things find you if you're looking for them. So I don't want to say it's
Right.
absolutely without its flaws. There's absolutely there's things that you want to avoid as well.
Exactly. So for everyone watching at home, I'm going to go ahead and add the links to Mr. Rogers YouTube down below. If you guys are interested in the Arizona area, don't forget to like and subscribe to his channel. Reach out to him if you have any questions, if you are getting ready to make a move, reach out to us. Well, I think that's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate. Is there anything else you wanted to add on before I let you go?
No, Birdie, just thank you very much. And as people, move from one location, in this case, California to Arizona, we truly, and I can speak for you, and I'm sure you can, do this vouch for me. We truly have their best interests at hearts, and there's no real charge to pick our brains with our knowledge. On my end, there's no commitment or obligation. Just if you have questions, be it real estate or Arizona in general, I'll end it with this. I moved roughly 2,300 miles across the country, and I'm grateful for the support that people gave me. So I, started off on the correct foot, and thank you to the Lord above that it's all working out well, whether it's life or business and or both. So I appreciate your time as well. Thank you for having me.
Technical issues before we go.
Yeah, always the way.
Oh,
You
okay.
get to
Well,
smile.
I know it's been such a fun day, Shawn. Thank you for joining me. Technical issues and all. I will be talking to you soon, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you, Shawn.
Thank you, Birdie. Be good.
You too.
Bye-bye.